I didn't actually pick up the guitar until I was like 23. So I never really played anything. I just dug music a lot, and then I kind of got real ravenous. Well, I was moving out of my house, and I checked into a motel, figure out where the heck I was moving to, and Albert Collins was behind the counter when I walked in, and I said, "You're Albert Collins?" And he goes, "Hell no, I wouldn't be that ugly," or something like that, you know. I go, "Yeah, you are, aren't you?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I play guitar too, you know," and
nice, man.
So yeah, so he says, "Really? Well, you get settled, come on over, bring your guitar over, meet my wife, and yeah, we'll sit around." So, you know, for about a week and a half, we sat around and played, and he told me all kinds of great stories, and geez, was great. Really a nice guy.
Of my career as a session player or a backup, you know, whatever you want to call it. It was with LaBelle at first, and then, you know, LaBelle I worked with Nona Hendrix, and then after Nona, I got a call from Lenny White. You know, he needed a second guitar, so I went out and worked with Lenny, and then my tenure with Lenny was 3 albums. Then from that, you know, just, you know, Clark Duke project, and then I really started focusing on wanting to do sessions, and then the opportunity for Blondie came along, and that was another audition. Well, you know, when I think about my roots, I mean, I think about the music that I listened to as a child, you know, and a kid. You know, I mean, I'm Puerto Rican and from the Bronx, so obviously there was a lot of mumbles and salsa in the house, you know. That was amazing music to listen to, even though I never really played in a salsa band, to be honest with you.
My folks didn't listen to much music, so I kind of discovered it on my own. It's like, you know, my friends would like bring over like Rolling Stones and Who and stuff that they got from their folks or whatever. And so I started, you know, like listening to a bunch of that, and then sort of working backward. You know, you'd read like interviews where Keith Richards would talk about like Muddy Waters. So I started listening to Muddy Waters to check it out, and sort of working backward on that, you know, and just, you know, living in Idaho, it's like a healthy dose of classic rock radio all the time. You know, because I just came out here and, you know, put together a band called Western Aerial, and we got a chance to like make a lot of cool records and, you know, do a bunch of big shows, and it was really cool, and I met like a lot of like great musicians. There's so many great musicians in town, it's like overwhelming, you know, like these guys, right?
But you know, the first spark for me was the Beatles, you know, and then from the Beatles it just kind of evolved. But there was always, like, you know, Dylan was being played in the house, Sun Ra, Stan Getz, Miles Davis, Sketches of Spain, all this amazing music. But the guitar stuff is what really lingered and resonated with me. So for the Beatles, you know, it was then Hendrix, and then Clapton and Jeff Beck and The Who and these kind of groups, Mountains, big Leslie West fan as a kid, you know.
She gives to me. probably hearing it as a kid, but not really knowing what it was, just liking a lot, like a lot of old swing stuff my folks used to listen to, you know. A lot of New Orleans kind of stuff. They played it at the house, and that's the kind of stuff I grew up listening to. And then, kind of like Eddie, you know, I got into the Beatles and the Stones and all those guys, and Hendrix and somebody go.
Growing up in New York, you go to the, you know, Fillmore East and buy a balcony seat and stand behind the orchestra section and just, like, you know, lean up against the wall and see all these great groups, you know.
About the importance of music education.
Well, you got to pass it on. I mean, it's meant everything to me. That's how I make a living. It's what I've done with my life, what I plan to do the rest of my life. It's huge.
I think it's vital, regardless of whether somebody continues in a career in music. I think it's really fundamental to have an appreciation of music and understanding of it, or just a fundamental aspect of playing any type of instrument. I remember, you know, in the public schools in New York when I was a kid, I mean, my first instrument was a French horn. It was my first instrument, and then I went from that to played a little bit of trumpet, but I love the sound of the French horns. And then, you know, in high school, I went to a school called William Howard Taft, which no longer exists. But it was a great school at the time, but they closed it down because it became the most violent school in America.
Is passing along a legacy as far as young people go. It's very important. It not only, you know, teaches them how to play music, but it actually, there's a lot of underlying things that go hand in hand with that. It's a proven fact. Actually, playing music makes you a smarter individual. Yeah, it speeds up the synapses, you know, neural pathways and different ways of thinking. You're thinking patterns. You're thinking. You know, like Eddie's talking about, like, you know, like chord makeup. You know, what makes up this chord, what makes up that chord, and it's just building blocks. And it's actually very simple, but often it's not explained simply. It's always like it's all drug out really long and hard to think.
Okay. Ready?
We're PG3 and we're coming to get you.